Hello, 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 and welcome back. It's been a while since we've had this guy on, but say hello, Eden.
What's up, boys?
So yeah, he's been helping me with a lot of the editing for this, but it has been a long time since we've had him in an actual video. So me and him have both been playing quite a bit of Marvel Snap and really enjoying the game. So we've been talking, and we've decided to pick our top 5 cards out of Pool 1. So, if you don't mind, I think I'll start. How's that sound? You can go next.
But before you do, I just want to say, just that these lists don't reflect. They're not a tier list. They're not our top 5 cards. It's cards that we prefer personally. And if cards that you like are on this list, that doesn't mean that they're bad or they're not good. This is just our personal preference and our personal opinion.
You can choose listen to or not.
Continue.
But no, these cards are just great. All right, these are the best cards. But so I know a few of these cards are probably a little bit off pick. But for the first card I've picked number 5 is Cosmo. I think Cosmo is a really good card, and I've come up against him a lot on ladder, and he usually just stuffs me up. He fucks me over pretty bad. And honestly,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so I was thinking between 2 cards, so either him or Enchantress, I think it is, the other one for ongoing effects. But I just feel like Cosmo's getting all the reveal effects and for the whole game in that lane is just more powerful than Enchantress. So
I agree. I think Cosmo is a good pick, but I don't disagree with Cosmo. Is that all you got to say on the mad lad Cosmo?
So you Cosmo. He's also like a good cheap card. You know, he's free like power, free attack.
Yeah.
Just very easy, very flexible. This is the main thing. He's got a very cool artwork I've got for him right here. You know, very beautiful. He's a cute boy. Yeah, he's a good boy. Yeah, give him a pat. That's also another reason.
Completely agree.
Cute. So yeah, what have you got for your first one?
My number 5 is Scarlet Witch.
Oh, Scarlet Witch.
The mad lad. Yes. The chick that will just completely change a location. That is, in my opinion, a great power to have. It can screw over your opponent. It can help you if there's a location that doesn't work for you. I just like the versatility of Scarlet Witch, and she's a 2-mana free attack minion, decent power. I just think she's a good card to fill out a deck if you don't know what else to put in.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I really do agree. I've used a lot of Scarlet Witch, and I think she's a very good card, even through later pools. Very fun card to use, very usable. Yeah, I agree. Alright. So, if I go on now to my 4th card. Now, this one I have is American Chavez. Now, I put American Chavez in number 4 and above Cosmos because American Chavez not only makes your draws before turn 6 better, so because I've watched videos and seen the maths on it, she actively makes the draws better, so you can get into your other cards, but she's also just a guaranteed 6 drop on turn 6 with 9 power, what can be enough just to win a lane. I feel like this card is also just very good for filling out any deck. So it's not going to be a card you build a deck around. What can make some cards somewhat better than what they actually are. But she can fit into so many decks. Well, any deck needs a late bomb that they don't have. Or any deck just needs an extra card. You can really just chuck American Chavez in there and you're not going to be upset about it.
I agree.
So, yeah.
I can't see any really downside to America Chavez. I think she's honestly a great rounded card. Doesn't have the most attack, but in most decks, that's not what really matters. You're just looking for your combo pieces. So I think she is a great pick, actually.
Yeah, no, I quite like American Chavez. I just think she's just a fantastic pick for most decks, especially any decks that are looking to increase your draw consistency, so especially for those combo decks, and I think she's just also a decent card to play on turn 6.
Yeah, she was in my honorable mentions actually for later on.
Oh, well, guess we'll keep going. What's your next one?
my next one is Squirrel Girl, the Mad Lad.
Squirrel Girl.
Yep. She's just 1 mana, 3 worth of power. Is great for a Kazar Blue Marvel deck. Fills out the board. Just a very strong multi-purpose card. Can help you get cards in places where you can't normally play them. Like where when you play a card here, destroy it. When you play a card here, remove it back to your hand. It's great for locations like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think she's quite versatile and is good for a lot of locations. The only thing that will really screw her over is minus power locations. But Kazar and Blue Marvel can help with those as well, so I think she's great, honestly.
Oh, nice. So yeah, no, I do agree. I think Squirrel Girl is a very good card. The only reason I didn't put her in my own list is because sometimes it does feel a bit awkward playing her when those minus locations pop up.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you did say that already, so yeah. But yeah, she's very good with working with other cards. And honestly, with a lot of decks, you can just chuck her in again. Very similar to American Chavez, you don't feel bad about having this card in your deck, especially early on in pool 1.
Yeah. Okay, what's your number 4?
So for my number 3, I actually picked...
Oh, 3, sorry.
I picked Devil Dinosaur.
Another honourable mentions for myself, okay.
So, I picked Devil Dinosaur. Personally, I love playing Devil Dinosaur. It's one of my favourite decks in Marvel Snap. I just love the idea of putting Devil Dinosaur into decks, playing Moon Girl to make your hand bigger. The archetype for Devil Dinosaur is so much fun. And the fact that a card like this is competitively viable just makes it even better. So, if you haven't tried him out, give him a go. You know, run him in the deck, run a Devil Dinosaur deck, give it a go. Just the fact that you can add extra copies to your hand with other cards like Moon Girl, and pretty much just lock off 2 locations with him, is just so powerful and it's so good. Because on average, this card is going to be about a 5 costs 17 power. 17 to 21 in that range. What's just insane when you play decks around him. Because I didn't really want to go through many cards that are built around certain decks, because outside those they can be pretty underwhelming. But with Devil Dinosaur, I just think he's so much fun, and his effect is so powerful and built around him that he deserves to go on a list like this.
I agree. The only reason I didn't put him on my list was because the consistency. You needed to get him and Moon Girl to really lock down 2 locations and have the most power out of the deck. But a thing that we haven't really talked about is these cards in later pools. Devil Dinosaur gets more synergy later on, gets better cards later on to help assist him and make the deck even better in later pools. So I think he's a good shout. Fun deck to play. I just don't like the consistency for me personally.
Yeah, it's fair. I've had a few games I played, just haven't drawn him. So, but yeah, I still just think the card is just amazing. So that's my main reason why he's there for me. So go on, what's your third card, Eden?
My third card is Mr. Sinister. I just like that he's a 2-drop with 4 worth of power. And if you can buff him with other... Like, there's a card in pool 1, Forge. If you play Forge combined with him, he's a 2 mana 8 attack minion. Right? Worth of stats. He goes a little wider. He can work with, like, Blue Marvel kind of decks. I just like that you can buff him, and it will help with... will make his clone even stronger as well, so it's like a double buff. I don't think he's the greatest card, but I think he's really fun to play, and he can be really powerful in the right situations.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've used him before. I liked using Mr. Sinister. He's quite fun to use. I enjoy him. The only reason I didn't really put him here is because I think they're just better cards that you can play earlier on. But I am interested. I want to use him in a later on in a what's called a Patriot deck. So,
Yep.
because his clone doesn't actually have an ability, so it'll buff the clone up. So that's what I'm really looking forward to using Mr. Sinister for. But other than that, yeah, I can't really argue with that. I think that's still a good shout. Mr. Sinister. Fun card. Alright, so I guess it's my turn back again. So, for my second card, now this one I think you might be a little bit off about, but I actually picked Iron Man.
I don't hate Iron Man. He's a win more card.
So now here's the thing, I don't agree with that. I think Iron Man is a very good tempo play. So if you're already like winning a lane, you chuck Iron Man onto that lane and you secure it. You do that on turn 5, it feels fine. You know what? You've won a lane, that's good. You can now focus on the other lane. Because most games of Marvel Snap will go, you usually win one lane, your opponent's usually winning another lane, and you're kind of fighting over a third lane. So if you chuck Iron Man onto that lane you're going to win, or you even chuck it onto the third lane, it can normally just guarantee it for you. So yeah, there are some negatives to Iron Man. He has no power, you know, so if you have to do it on a negative power location, he's actually -1, what's not good. But in most situations, Iron Man's gonna buff your board up to like 20 plus attack. You know, especially if it's like that third location. But if it's that first location that you're already winning, you just want to secure it, so on that final turn, they just drop a big bomb on there and win it, you can put it up to 30 plus power, 40, 50 power. I've seen turns where Iron Man, where I've been in games, where we both fought for one side, we both put heaps of power on one side, and Iron Man just put me to 60, but I can only get to about 40 power. So, I really like Iron Man. He's in a lot of the decks I use. I just think he's a very good 5-drop to have. Even in decks where there are other 5-drops that are more synergistic, he's just another good win condition in my opinion, just to have there.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's the main reason.
I don't hate Iron Man. It's just I find if someone's like when you're fighting so hard for a location on both sides, yeah, he can be good for that. But usually for me, when I do that, I've lacklustered the other locations, and I don't really have a strong play for another set location. And again, sometimes if you don't drop him on 5, he can be really awkward on turn 6 to play if you want to. So I don't know, for me, he's a good card. I rate him. He just didn't go on my list.
Alright, so I guess we'll move on now. So for your second card.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones? Alright.
Yeah, I think it's a card. It's very predictable what you're going to do after you play Jessica Jones. You're not really going to play another card there. But just a 4-mana, 8-power minion is pretty strong in my opinion. I just rate the effect. She's simple. She can work in pretty much every deck. Just a good, solid, all-around card in my opinion.
No, I do agree. I really like Jessica Jones. The only reason I've kind of stopped playing Jessica Jones, I guess because I'm playing, you know, more complicated decks and stuff where it requires you to kind of more precisely guess what they're going to play. And with Jessica Jones...
And more setup.
It kind of locks them down to 2 locations, so you can take that 50-50 instead of a 33% chance of guessing. To, like, you know, play something to draw a card off them or to snipe something. But no, I do agree, especially in Pool 1 for early players. Jessica Jones is a fine card, she works really well.
Yeah, powerhouse. Okay, we'll move on to your next one.
Well, we'll do some honorable mentions. So I've got 2 honorable mentions I already want to talk
Oh
about.
yeah, we'll do honorable mentions first.
That I didn't do. So I got 2 here. So for my first one, it's Kazar. Kazar's my first honorable mention. Now, the reason Kazar's not in this list as an honorable mention is because he's only really in one deck. So you could say the same about Devil Dino, but this deck... With Kazar, it feels like you don't need him as much. So he's a very good card, very powerful, and definitely makes his deck thrive. But even in the deck he's in, there's more than just 1-drops in the Kazar Zoo deck. And I feel like outside of Kazar Zoo, he's quite weak. So, you know, only buffs me 1 or 2 cards. And for my second honorable mention, similar style, I have Blue Marvel. So I put Blue Marvel as my second honorable mention because, again, just buffs the board wide. But similarly, he's not really in a whole lot of decks, mainly in Kazar, Zoo, and ongoing decks. But I feel like outside of those, he's a bit weak as a 5/3. Now, yes, he does buff everyone else up by 1, but if you get hit by an Enchantress, what seems to happen a lot when you play Blue Marvel, and a lot of the time you also play like Blue Marvel, Kazar, and Onslaught onto one location, and it kind of loses you the game if someone does have an Enchantress. And similar to Cosmo, Enchantress is getting run a lot in a lot of decks, so that's the reason why not...
Especially in pool 1.
Yeah, especially in pool 1 with these cards that we're rating. Especially pool 1.
Yeah. I agree with what you said, but I feel like people run Enchantress a lot because the Kazoo deck, I feel like, is a very strong pool 1 deck.
Oh,
like one of the better ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So people have to kind of run Enchantress to counter it, which can kind of limit their decks a little bit too. I agree. I mainly played Kazoo for my first, while I was playing in pool 1, and I really enjoyed it. It was really fun to mess around with, but yeah, it can get countered a lot just by an Enchantress on the same location.
Yeah, no, Enchantress is very
I can't disagree with it.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll move on to my honorable mentions real quick. So I had America Chavez and Devil Dino. We won't talk about them much because we already talked about them. But my last one I had was Odin. The reason why he's on here for me and not why I didn't mention him in my top 5 was because he kind of speaks for himself. He's a card that's run all the way from pool 1 to pool 3. If you're playing any kind of reveal deck, it's just because his effect is so powerful and can just swing the game on his own. Comboed with White Tiger or other cards in general. I mean, you can switch a location again with Scarlet Witch. There's so many possibilities for him. Wolfsbane. That just helps win a location or multiple locations just by playing his effect. So I like him a lot, but I think he speaks for himself a lot, and with my list I tried to go a bit more out of the box of cards I don't think people would really focus on as much.
Yeah, it's fair. So, going with that, my number 1 pick, and this is a card I use in pretty much every deck I play, because he is just so good, is Nightcrawler. So my number 1 pick is Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler is amazing. So, 1 drop, you can run in every deck you want. He can move, and that's probably the most important thing about Nightcrawler is the fact that he can move. So, for being a pool 1 card, having 2 power that you can put somewhere and just move it somewhere else is very versatile. And if you want, you can also use it to bait out other cards in pool 1, so your Electras and stuff. I think that's very powerful. And if you can buff Nightcrawler, that's a lot more power you can move. So if certain locations where it's give +1 to each turn to things on here, turn 6 you'd be moving something that's 7 power. And just chuck it into another lane that you might have not had as much power on. I just think Nightcrawler is the best card in pool 1. Not because he necessarily empowers a deck, but because he fits into every deck. I don't know a deck that you can't slot Nightcrawler into as your 1 drop, especially for pool 1. Maybe in later pools there are better cards. I haven't discovered any, like Sunspot. But for pool 1, if you want a solid 1 drop that you can use pretty much whenever you want, Nightcrawler is that card.
Yeah, I agree. I think what makes him so strong is he can pretty much work in any location, and if he doesn't, you just move him to one that he does. If it's a minus power location, move him, or if there's a buffing location, like you said, play him there, get the buffs on him, move him. You can Ironheart him, you can use Forge on him. You can even use another card like Angela, play him behind her, buff Angela, and then move him away as well. He's just the most versatile card in pool 1, and I do agree with that, actually.
Yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention is you can also drop like Hulkbuster on him.
True, you can drop a Hulkbuster on him. He's just such a versatile card. He can go anywhere.
Just dropping a Hulkbuster is... I've seen people do that. I haven't done it myself, but like dropping the Hulkbuster on him is just so powerful as well.
I agree.
But yeah, I think it's your turn. What's your number 1 card, Aiden?
So, my number 1 card is a card I think a lot of people underrate. And it's Professor X.
Professor X?
Yeah, do you know who that is?
Oh, I should, but I can't think off the top of my head.
5 mana, free attack, ongoing, and
yes.
no one can play a card here. Completely locks down a location.
Yes, Professor X, yes.
I think he is a card that people underrate highly. And I think just chuck him in an ongoing, like a Spectrum ongoing deck. Play him in a location that someone hasn't really played too many cards in. And you kind of just straight up win that location. Or even if they're winning a bit, Spectrum can buff the location. You can use a claw to add power to the location. I think it's a card that is very underrated. And I don't know why people aren't playing him more. I guess it's probably because of the 5 mana free attack. But he pretty much just lets you win a location for free.
Yeah. No, I do like this card. I haven't had a lot of time to use it myself. But I have been absolutely wrecked by Professor X when I just put something on a location and not really winning. Like the fighting location, as I've spoken about before, okay, you have that 3rd location. And then I just can't do anything about it. I'm just sitting there in a losing battle for the last turn, like, what do I do? So no, I like that pick. This is one I didn't think you'd pick. Like, I thought you would have gone for like Answer or something, but no, Professor X is a very good pick. I do agree with that. Like, the only downside I see from is his free like attack, but locking down a lane could honestly equal up to like 50 attack, depending on what they're gonna play.
Yeah, you're not playing him for his power, you're playing him for his effect. And he can also just he's actually one of the only cards that can counter Nightcrawler as well. Nightcrawler cannot move to his location. Which is another unique, like... He's just a very versatile card. I don't think he's more versatile than Nightcrawler. But he just can absolutely stun an enemy by locking them out of a location completely.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Anything else you want to add?
Nah, I'm good. I think we've got everything.
Alright, well, that's 2 Australians being idiots and trying to rate some cards for you. So, but...
Pretty much.
I don't think it was too bad. I think it was actually alright. So, yeah, if you enjoyed, stay around because we're doing another list soon on the top 5 worst Pool 1 cards. So we'll each be doing another list for that soon. And stick around for more games of Marvel Snap, because I'm not done with that yet. I've still got another couple decks to play around with. And I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will talk to you later.